Hey, welcome back to the All Purpose Pod for an All Purpose Life, wherever you are and however you're listening to the Call Me Mr. You, the podcast. We thank you once again for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week with your weekly mirror check before you change the world. Thanks again for joining us here. We definitely appreciate you guys. I try to tell you that as often as possible. I'm a firm believer in giving my flowers to the living while they can still appreciate the smell and the fragrance. So thank you guys for doing all that you do, supporting our show. If you are an audio listener, so that means Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts. Of course, you can hear us wherever you subscribe to your podcasts for your listening pleasure. You can find us there. Just either download the app or you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, which is probably the only place that you can subscribe to our show. We definitely would appreciate you doing that. In the meantime, if you are an audio and video listener, that means you can see the entire full-length episode, hear me and see me. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com at They Call Me Mr. U, is growing very much lately, and you guys are a big reason for that. So thank you. Thank you for supporting the show and for listening to us and hearing what we have to say. We believe that we're the all-purpose pod for an all-purpose life. So we talk about a lot of things on this show. Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings is sports. And then the rest of the week, we have a string of different things going on. Our YouTube channel is a great example of that. So thank you again for continuing to listen. Subscribe to our show for those that are financially supporting us. Thank you again for doing that. If you go to our show notes, you can see all the ways you can help us do that as well. So thank you again for doing that. We definitely appreciate it. Now, in regards to today's episode, I want to run in front of you. I want to share some things in front of you guys that are pretty near and dear to my heart. Most of you that know me personally or have heard some of the stories that I've shared on previous seasons of our show. Again, I said it many times, the first two seasons, if you want to know about Mr. U and his life and hear some of the testimonials of what I've been through and what I was able to persevere, those first two seasons got it all on lock. You can hear and see almost everything about me for the most part. I'm literally an open book in those first 2.5, almost 3 seasons. Now, at the same time, I'm learning new things, so I'm sharing new things. Now, my background is as a business coach and a life coach. I was doing that for quite a while, even professionally. I had my own practice in Florida. I was doing that for a while. Even in my days recently, I'm into more networking. I'm doing direct sales. Many of you know that already. But what that does for me is it puts me old and new. It puts me in a place where I have to answer a lot of questions, or I'm asked a lot of questions. I'm asked advice about business things, personal things, even family things, just person to person, maybe a lot of men's related issues. I get a lot of questions from people, and that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. What I've discovered in my interaction and my networking with people is that a lot of people have looked at this life in a way that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Uh, you know, in today's times, saying anything, especially on social media, you find yourselves under assault just because you had an opinion about something or you didn't agree with the masses on a particular topic. And that's disturbing to me. It is the appears to be the way of the world. It is disturbing. But at the same time, I do get a lot of those questions and I do hear a lot of sentiment that leads me to believe that people think this life is something that they have all the time in the world to fulfill and to walk in purpose. I got to tell you right now, that's fool's gold if I ever heard it. Emphasis on the fool. We don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of luxury. If you could ask anybody else that has moved on in this life and moved on to the great beyond, so to speak, every single one of them to a man or woman will tell you, I wish I paid attention to the detail. I wish I paid attention to the clock, so to speak. I wish I used my time better. I wish I had a chance to go back and resolve some things. A great number of people probably feel exactly that same way, and they're in eternity now and don't have a chance to make those calls. They don't have a chance to make those decisions. One of the biggest deceptions that we have going on around us in the massive uh, stratosphere of this life, the mass collective, is that we think we have time. We look at calendars and we plan them. We check off dates that are important. Somebody's wedding, somebody's graduation, somebody's marriage, and we think we have time because we have room on the calendar. We have more months left, so we think we have time. But what we're not realizing and understanding is that we don't control that. Those are just projections. We don't have the opportunity, or we don't have the luxury, I should say, to take the opportunity that we have in this life and not use it to the fullness. Now, of course, in many of my conversations in the past, especially from a spiritual standpoint, and I've been uh, a leader in that area throughout many years. Nothing to brag about. It's just something that I was thrust into, and I I walked out for quite a while. But what I learned is that the discussion about purpose always comes back into play. It always comes back. I don't care if we're talking about business. I don't care if we're talking about a goal as an entrepreneur. I don't care if we're talking about someone who wants to be married or someone who wants to take fuller advantage of their singleness. It always comes back into play. It always comes back to the forefront. Purpose. That P word continues to come back to the forefront. I don't mean potential. I mean, if I was you, I would never want anybody to tell me, you know what, blank has potential, or whoever you are, what your name is, you have potential. Potential is where you probably can find more potential in the grave than anywhere else, because that's where potential lies the most. People who didn't fulfill their life purpose, they didn't accomplish all the things that were on their plate, on their calendar for things to do, they didn't fulfill it. They had potential that was unfulfilled, unrealized. Our dearly departed mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, he said it best, and I love when he says that quote. He says that all the stories that haven't been written yet, the songs that have never been written and sung, the paintings that haven't been painted yet, the poems that haven't been written, the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where they all can be found. All the works that were never done, all the invention that were never invented, all the ideas that never came past the concept stage and never made it into reality are all found in the graveyard. That's where potential lies, in the grave, in the box, never to be heard from and seen again. And I ask you today, choose purpose over potential. That's just a little side note before we get into the context of our episode. I've heard that so many times, and for me, it's kind of startling that we're still at the place where we think we have time. I'm not saying hurry up and try to do everything you have to do and try to cram it all into a couple of years when it could be a 10-year project. I'm not saying that. Please don't get me wrong. Please don't misunderstand me. All I'm saying is that every day there's an opportunity for purpose. Every day there's opportunity to walk in fulfillment. My question to you is, are you doing that? Now, even though it may look as though I spend a lot of time on social media because I deal with our podcast and multiple shows that are under our brand that we are a part of, and we're producing and editing and all that kind of stuff. Here's my question to you. I'm not spending that much time as you may think I am, but a lot of people are. And they spend their life on social media. They stay there and they live for the arguments. They live for the negativity in certain communities, in certain blocks of people. They live for the political back and forth every day. They live for that. My question is, are you walking in purpose? Are you fully utilizing everything that is inside of you that is considered a gift, a blessing, a dream, a goal? Are you fulfilling all that you're supposed to be fulfilling? Are you walking in all you're supposed to be walking in? A lot of people can't say yes to that question. They're being honest about it. They spend a lot of time getting caught up in all kind of doubtful disputations and backlash and back and forth and conflicts that ain't real conflicts. And before you know it, you lost time. I mean, look how easy it is for you to get on your phone and scroll through the reels, see the cute little babies and puppies and all kind of stuff. And before you know it, you lost an hour of time just by intending to take a few minutes, 5, 10 minutes to look at some reels. It took you an hour to realize that you spent an hour looking at reels. That's how easy it is to lose track of time. Case in point, if somebody said, you know what, I want to take a little break from my work, perhaps I work from home. I want to take a little break from my work and look at some things on television. You watch a program that lasts an hour, another one comes on that you show a commercial for it that you're interested in, and before you know it, 2 or 3 hours have been lost, and you were just trying to take a little short break from your work, and now 3 hours are gone. It's not hard to lose track of time. It's not hard to forget where you started and find yourself in a place that you didn't plan to be in. And people have that in life all the time. If I talk to somebody, and it happens very often, if I talk to somebody about what their goal was for being in their particular vocation or in their field of work or expertise, why you a subject, how you become a subject matter expert at where you are, how'd you get there? Most folks that, and this is just an informal number, the majority of the folks that I talk to don't even know how they got there. Admittedly, they fell into the position, and 15, 20 years later, they're still there. Don't know how they got there and don't really know why they're still there. It's just a comfortable spot to land. One of the biggest tragedies I've ever heard of in my life, and we see this a lot in scripture, and we see it a lot in real life, practical terms, where you live, work, and play. People, excuse me, take a place that's supposed to be a temporary position and turn it into a full-time position. I don't mean a job assignment. I'm talking about a life circumstance. It's supposed to be a temporary bump in the road, but it turns into a place people put up tents and they live there for decades. A place that wasn't intended to stay. They supposed to just pass through. Look at the children of Israel. If you know anything about the biblical history of the children of Israel, look at that situation. Their journey was supposed to be 11 days in the wilderness to come from the hardships and the slavery and oppression of Egypt and move into a land that was considered the promised land, a land of milk and honey, a land where they would be blessed with much land, much fruit and crops, and cattle, and countless ways for them to enhance their life living and produce generations and just continue to thrive in the blessing. But in between Egypt and the promised land was a wilderness. The journey was supposed to be 11 days in total. It was a trek 11 days through the wilderness to get to the promised land from the oppression and the hardship of Egypt. If you know the story and you understand what happened, 11 days was the goal. It took them 40 years. I want you to catch that, even if you're not great at math. Hear what I'm saying. 11 days versus 40 years. What we're talking about is essentially thousands of days when it should have only been 11 days. And that's startling to me. But what that tells you is that there's a natural, it's not hard, it's a natural detour that we as humans can make where we go through a temporary place and end up camping there longer than we're supposed to be there. Something that's supposed to just be a bump in the road, something to test our character, to help build us up from a character standpoint. We end up staying there and living there longer than we're supposed to, and we short circuit our destiny. We short circuit who and what we can accomplish in life because we decided to stay in a place a little longer than we were supposed to. Think about that because it's deep and it's real. Every time I talk to people, what I find from people is that they look at this life as something that, hey, whatever the decks afford me, then hey, that's it. Whatever card I'm dealt, that's my lot for the day. And that's so sad. That is the epitome of someone who's living without purpose in their life. And anybody that's living and breathing and even able to hear me today or not listening to us, you got purpose inside of you. You are gifted. You're talented. It's not accidental. Your mother and father can't take the credit. It comes from someplace else. And it doesn't come from your school. It doesn't come from all your TV watching back in the day when you were younger. It doesn't come from your education and from your degrees. That gift comes from a much higher place. And you have that inside of you. So to not look at this life as an opportunity to truly shine and make an impact, it's sad. It's sad to even see people walk their life like that. And that's why I want to talk about today for the next few minutes. Is your life an investment or is it a gamble? How many of my friends, if offered the option of $1 million right now or a penny doubled every day, would pick the $1 million? I think we have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people who I know personally. If I ask them that without thinking, because in their mind, $1 million now is more than a penny double today. So they would take the $1 million now. I know a lot of folks who have bit on that gamble, people who played the lottery so many years and they finally won it and they hit the Powerball, so to speak. And right now they don't have a dime to their name. And you can look at them and say, oh, if that happened to me, that wouldn't happen. Okay, sure. But what I want to express to you is that happens to people because not only because of poor mismanagement, but because inside of them, they have a mentality that won't allow them the capacity to handle that kind of money, that kind of windfall. They don't have the tools and the resources necessary. The person that chooses $1 million clearly wants the money now, and they have a clear need for it. The person that wants a penny doubled a day is thinking about the long game. They're dealing in wants more than they are in needs. Needs come from a place of weakness. If you need it, you'll be liable to do anything for it, to put down any morals you have about it, or allow somebody to control you in certain ways because you have a need. When you want something, you go out and decide. Case in point, we were in line for getting a new car probably about 2 years ago. Now, in the past, I've been in need of a new car. I would get some stuff that I probably shouldn't get, but because I was in a desperate need, I made decisions that probably weren't the best. I would get a car that maybe wasn't that great. I'm not saying it's a lemon, but I'm saying you might get a car that is not up to standards or up to code and not a good long-term choice for you. And short-term, car might break down, cost you more money in repairs, and you're in a worse place than you were before. Now you just got more money attached to that choice. But what we did, we thought about it. We assessed our life. We looked at where we were, the mistakes we made in the past, and we said, you know what? What's the best route for us? So what we did was we went and we bought the car straight up. Now, the people at the car dealership, they were hot about this. You think they wouldn't care. They get money, right? But they most definitely care because they have special interest. Every car dealership, without exception. And they put on a full court press to get us to finance that car. I'm talking about everything you can think of, every perk they could throw in, cutting costs on the amount, excuse me, trying to discount the car's total amount, trying to add little perks onto the car, everything to get us to discount, to finance that car rather than buy it straight up with cash. And they threw probably 30, 45 minutes at us of trying to make us do that. But we came into that with a plan. We had a purpose for what we were doing it, and we were operating not in need, but in want. We wanted a new car. We didn't even have to do that. We wanted a new car. We were operating from a position of power. And what we did, we walked in, got that new car. It's been one of the biggest blessings of our life in the past several years. We don't have any car payment on that car. The car is essentially brand new for the most part. Not much wear and tear on it. It rides well. And we did that without having to have debt and loan attached to this. That's because we operated from a position of want, a position of power and strength, not a position of weakness. Many of my friends would choose the $1 million now because they don't see the long-term picture. They don't see the long game. They're playing the short game. What can it do for me right now in the situation? How many debts can it help me pay off right now? What business venture can I get off of the ground right now in a hurry by putting an influx of money into it right now? But the person that chooses the penny doubled, you'll find that if you do the math long term, they'll end up with more, much more than $1 million over a short period of time, over a matter of a few years. They'll have a lot more money than that. Here's the question: is your life an investment, or are you gambling with it? Look at the time when we had the Bitcoin era. I guess we're still in the Bitcoin era, I guess. But I had many folks that would be on my appointment schedule, or people who I would be talking to through the course of networking, and they'd be 20-year-olds in most cases, calling themselves entrepreneurs and investors, telling me that they are, they're investors by trade. They do some stock stuff. They have some stock in Walmart and stuff like that, but that doesn't make you an investor. It's just like putting on a suit doesn't make you a businessman. The mentality has to be the same. And I've seen so much gambling in life. I don't mean it to concede on. I'm talking about the other kind of gambling, the worst kind of gambling. where you bet everything on unsubstantiated ideas, unfinished dreams and goals, a lack of work ethic, a lack of character, a lack of integrity, and you put everything, your family, your house, your finances, on truly unstable ground. That's gambling. Is this life an investment for you, or is it a gamble for you? I heard the old saying, consistency is key. Most of us all, we probably do something consistently well or something consistently bad. You can tell by our habits if we're consistent. I think all of us are consistent in some way, but are we consistently good at what we're doing? Are we progressively growing ourselves consistently? Are we consistently doing the wrong things and then we complain about it on social media? Consistency is key, and we're all consistent. The question is, what are we consistent in? I had encouragement from a friend of mine. He is a writer for a sports team, and he was telling me, you know, he kind of just encouraging me. I kind of fell off of my writing. I'm actually a writer by trade. I used to author books and write for blogs and magazines. I did that a lot in the past, and it was a great joy for me. I enjoyed doing it so much. I enjoyed writing and content creating. But I got away from it for several years and tried to get back into it more recently, within recent years. And he just encouraged me because he's been doing it for a while. It's been going really well for him financially and creatively and every other way. He was encouraging me to, give me some tips about just continuing to keep going and continuing to be consistent in that area. And what came out of that is kind of par for the course of this episode. What are you investing in? Are you investing in something that is going to be good for you, or something just to appease a goal that you have for your life? Does it really matter what you do? It's going to mean it's going to have some kind of historical or generational impact what you decide to do. And I just brought that up because it makes me think about, okay, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to write? Why do I want my books out here? Why do I want my online magazines and blogs and articles out here? And we spend so much time focusing on all these things that don't matter, and we develop habits that don't take us anywhere closer to the big picture goal that we have. There might be one or two ticks away from where we are, but it's just a 2x mentality, and we just kind of end up staying where we are. We stay tied to our past. We stay tied to our past misdeeds, where we were, what we didn't accomplish, what we didn't do, and we find ourselves staring at the mirror of the past all the time with some slight advancements here and there, but we don't really change anything holistically. There's no real wholesale changes taking place. That's because we don't have a steady, consistent growth process. There's no positive trajectory going on. We just kind of stay in the same place, and we wonder why nothing's working. Consistency is not the problem. We're already consistent. Some people are consistently complainers. They're consistently lazy. They're consistently uninspired to be mentored or taught by anybody. They're consistent in not reading and educating themselves. They're consistent in not listening to things that are thought-provoking and helpful and beneficial to their growth as an entrepreneur, if that's what they want to be, or as an artist or creative, etc., or as a business person. Consistency is not the issue. What are we consistent in? Are we investing in this life, or are we gambling? I want to share a few scriptures before we close our show out, just to kind of give you a brief overview of what or why I believe, and I'm sharing this with you today, that if you're not consistent and you're gambling in this life, how much it can cost you. I want to share a few things. Check out Ephesians 5:11-16. Ephesians 5:11-16. You understand how this show operates. We deal with scripture, so forgive me if you're not so inclined, but don't close your ears off. I think this may still help you. It says, don't waste your time on useless work, mere busy work, the barren pursuits of darkness. Expose these things for the sham that they are. It's a scandal when people waste their lives on things they must do in the darkness where no one can see. Rip the cover off those frauds and see how attractive they look in the light of Christ. Wake up from your sleep, climb out of your coffins. Christ will show you the light. So watch your step, use your head, make the most of every chance you get. These are desperate times. That version of Ephesians 5:11-16 is the Message Bible version. Okay. Something else that just kind of came across the board that I think you might want to hear. Check this out. This is Matthew 6:19 through 21. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Now, all this is just examples of not wasting your time, being a good steward over what you have in front of you. No. James 4:14 says, "You don't even know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. For you are like smoke that appears for a little while and then it vanishes." And that really just speaks to the frailty of life. I mean, if you ever lost anybody, you know what the feeling is, the emotion that comes with that. I mean, I think we all can relate to that. But of course, you also realize that most times, whether it's through somebody doing a eulogy for them, or from your own personal thoughts for losing a loved one, friend, former coworker, former classmate, etc., you always say, "Man, they left too soon. They had so much more they could accomplish." So when you hear that verse from James 4:14 about how we're like smoke, here one moment and gone the next, that's how quickly things can change. That's how quickly the pendulum swings. If you don't get nothing else out of this, please understand what I'm trying to tell you today. This is not a life that you want to gamble with. This is not that kind of situation. And if you get up in the morning and you dog it through your day and you don't think long term and you don't plan, you don't do anything to build something for yourself that represents a legacy, an asset, or generational wealth or benefit for your family and for the next generations, you're gambling. Pure and simple. If you think somebody's going to just give you something, or you're waiting for the government to give you a handout, you're just gambling. If you're waiting for something to just happen, like in a movie, like on a Lifetime TV movie, where somebody just blesses you with $1 million, a leprechaun with a pot of gold, that's what you're waiting for. It's just a gamble. Because while you're waiting, you're decaying. While you're waiting, your creativity is lessening and lessening, and nothing's happening. For those of y'all out in the struggle that have been trying to build something for years, I can even talk to the podcasters out there. I hear from you guys all the time, and I hear your grinding and the struggle. I hear it. I hear it with business owners starting businesses for the first time, and they're still in the red, even past 7 years. I hear it all the time. You can't give up. You keep on moving forward and keep on keeping that positive trajectory. You got to do that part. I'm not talking about you, but the folks that are not doing anything and hoping that somebody's going to give them something. I know people who, this specifically for women, they are waiting for a rich husband to come and save them from their life. Man, come on. You are a better asset to your husband. You are a better partner to your future husband when you have goals and when you have dreams and when you have vision for yourself, when you see yourself as more than just some kind of secondary placemat. You have something to bring to the table, to the marriage, to the relationship, to the raising of children, to the building of businesses together, whatever it is you guys want to do together. You bring something to the table. You ain't just somebody who's just passing through here. Maybe somebody come lavish you with all of the riches while you do nothing. I don't agree with that philosophy. So if you don't agree with that, you don't like that, I respect your opinion. If you want to try to come and leave comments and share stuff, by all means, go right ahead. But I don't think there's much legs to stand on where that's concerned. This life is not a gamble. And a lot of people, like my old mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, said plenty of times, the graveyard is full of unfinished business and unrealized potential. We can't afford it. So if you're doing that, stop doing that. It's time to start investing in you. I'm not saying go to school and take out thousands of dollars of loans. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm not advocating that at all. I'm not telling you to put your house on the market. I'm not telling you to do anything that's going to cause you to be in any kind of financial disarray. All I'm saying is that you are worth investing in. You are worth it. I don't care where you are and what you're dealing with. You're worth it. So I'm just asking you, please, start thinking about investing in yourself. If you don't know how to do that and you have no idea where to start, even though I guess I'm not considered a licensed life coach anymore or licensed business coach anymore, I'm happy to chat with you. I'm happy to hear your thoughts offline outside of the show. You can even leave comments on our YouTube channel in the comments section or on social media where you find this episode being dropped. I'm happy to chat with you and perhaps offer some insights. Maybe I can point you in the right direction somewhere. If I can't, perhaps I know somebody else that can help you. I know a lot of folks. I got a lot of resources in my life. Maybe I can help you out there. But don't at all walk out from this episode and not realize that you are worth the investment. You bring something of value to the table in this world. You got something to give. You got something to offer. You might be under pain and despair and a lot of confusion about where you're at and who you are, but there you have something to offer. You got light to bring to this dark situation that we call the world. You got something to bring. Invest in you. I hope this helps you. I hope this encourages you. I don't know where you are in your life, but life is not a gamble. It's not worth it. The rewards are not something you want. Invest in yourself. Live with purpose. If you don't know how, again, I'd be happy to try to help you and point you in the right direction. But wherever you are and however you're listening to the Call Me Mr. You, the podcast, and this episode on investment and gambling, we'd love to hear back from you. Thank you for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week. We're your weekly mirror check before you change the world. Of course, you can find us anywhere you get your audio and video only podcasts on our YouTube channel at They Call Me Mr. You. And of course, anywhere you get your audio streaming podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and such. So we'd love to hear back from you, hear your thoughts on that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for chiming in the comments section. Let us know what you think. And we definitely appreciate all of you bring to the table. And we'd love to hear back from you really, really soon. Thanks for continuing to support our show. We love you. Have a great day. Enjoy the music. Coach out.